y'all? My name is Ryan Coleman, aka Rocco Fit, and I am here with
Evangeline DeAndre Lees.
and we are Unapologetically Mindful. The gist of this podcast is to really get people to understand that in order to be able to thrive in this life, you have to show up in the world as your most authentic, unapologetic self. And one of the biggest things that we want to preach to the community, is optimization within your mind, body, and spirit. So us as a pair are collectively working in order to be able to change the stigma between how the masculine and feminine energy in society is viewed, and ultimately being able to bring on guests that be able to add productive insight to you all.
And that includes diving deep in with yourself so that you can build intimate relationships with the people around you and raise a vibration. So we're going to be talking about everything mindfulness.
So today we are diving into dating and entrepreneurship. And this has definitely been a hell of a journey for me and Evangeline. It's something that we're consistently working through, consistently learning how to navigate through, because ultimately, it takes a lot of structure. It takes a lot of routine, and I would love to say it demands balance, but balance kind of isn't really a thing. It's always a little bit uneven, so we just do our best with what we have in terms of it. And, we do have to be very intentional with, being able to create that separation between, our personal relationship and then our business relationship. And I think definitely for me at times, that's a struggle.
Yeah. I can agree. I mean, relationships within itself, and I think we can both agree on this, relationships within itself, it takes a lot of work because we are two different individuals coming together to try to build a life together. We have two different upbringings, two different ways of living before we were together, and we're trying to bring that together and merge without losing ourselves in the process, because we have to also realize we are still two individual people trying to operate our life within this world and be within our own states of happiness, but also create that together. Now with entrepreneurship, that's another level of challenges on its own, because at times we're leading every part of our entire business. Literally, at one point in time, we each played a role in all of our businesses. I know where I'm at in my business right now. I am within all the roles. We had a meeting not too long ago, and I had to break down my several roles using all of my personalities.
Literally, it was 5 different versions of her on the screen. I was like, this is wild.
But that's how it be. I have to step into multiple roles all the time, and then we have to step into a role of being within our relationship. And I know for Ryan, he has to lead. He does have, a team, but he still have to lead every aspect within his business. And that alone just come with high stressors. I can say with myself, it's a little less stressful for me within mine because I don't have to deal with a lot of outside noises. And with him, he has to deal with his people, himself, and then come into the relationship. So it just takes a lot of work on both of our ends, and I think you can attest to that as well.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a 24-hour obligation.
Yeah.
And there will be many times where, the weekend will hit, and we'll be Saturday at 5 o'clock, we're cutting it off, But I think it just kind of got to a point where you get to a certain point in business where it never honestly really stops, it'll kind of be at a point where there might not be as much going on, but ultimately, there's always somebody texting me, hitting me up, and I really hold myself high on, having that high response rate, and ensuring that I'm really getting back to people at a good time. So within that 24-hour cycle, and just kind of constantly keep going, it's really hard to turn it on and turn it off, you know. Yeah. And like I think we were just having that conversation because like the business Ryan and like the entrepreneurship Ryan is like a completely different version than like, you know, the personal me, you know, like when we first met, like I was literally in the midst of my healing journey, you know, like I was super like, not that I'm not spiritual now, but like I was like everything, like to the point where I was like, my title was like the spiritual guide or something like that. Obviously, you know, we've evolved past that. But spirituality is still a huge part of my life. But, you know, I am like, I have a military background. So like when it comes to like entrepreneurship, like, I can be that David Goggins, like, hey, we getting this done, you know, like, I'm like, what, David, I always say, like, David Goggins mixed with Divvy, like, I really do, like, I be talking out to the side of my neck sometimes, and, you know, it's hard at times to kind of separate that, because, like, I want to be able to be soft with Van, you know, when I communicate with her and stuff like that, so again, going back to intention, it's really important for me to be able to, you know, separate that and then also be able to catch myself with knowing like how I'm speaking to you. And then even in certain responses, like, you know, having to stop and pause and ask myself, like, where is this response coming from? Am I responding from unconditional love? Am I responding from a place of, you know, happiness, or am I like responding from a place of like ego, pride, you know, stuff like that, you know, which has been hard. But like when you take the time to actually like identify that, it makes it easier with being able to kind of create that separation.
Yeah. I think it's a good point to, like, with everything that you said, dig into what we kind of like love and loathe about this lifestyle, because it does come with a lot of challenges, but it is a wonderful journey to go through. Because for me, I can say what I love about it is the fact that we literally have to grow so much, like at an expedited rate, because not only do we take our healing journey and our spiritual journey very serious and being the best version of ourselves and holding ourselves accountable and holding each other accountable in that, but within the business world, we are changing every single day because we have to continuously learn something new. Like, I am not the same person that I even was last week. And there's things about myself that, you know, he may have to check me on sometimes within my business and in my relationship if I'm not upholding on my end, such as like prioritizing like that balance, because I am the type to get very burnt out. So I can say like I do love the fact that within this journey we can continue to hold each other accountable, and I love the fact that we're both in agreement that, you know, we are ever evolving. We're going to change day in and day out, and we have to accept the person that we, you know, become in each other. Like he said, like I won't say you're far off from the Ryan that I knew in the beginning. I would say you're just more within your business-minded aspect, and you have to be. And sometimes when you're constantly on your phone, texting people back, like me, I'll tell you something. I'm not the best at texting back. I'll be like, y'all can email me. Like, email me. If I don't text back, I apologize. But sincerely, I keep saying I'm going to get better at it. And honestly, the truth is I'm not, because I'm just not a phone person. I'm not a phone person at all. So, and I uphold that boundary on my end. I try to get better, but it just is unrealistic for me. And so I can create that separation because I work a lot on social media with my business, Intentionally Social. And once I'm really like home, I don't want to text nobody back. I don't want to be in constant communication with people. And sometimes I expect you to be the same way. Like, I'm like, why do you gotta like reply back right away? Why do you gotta text these people back? And I felt like for a point of time, I was kind of getting annoyed with that. And I had to realize that you're within the part in your journey where you are right now in high demand and you have team members, so you have to communicate on a constant basis. So that was one thing that I had to kind of, I wouldn't say compromise, but just look at him and respect where he's at in his journey and realize that I can't place my dependency on him during those times. And that also give me time to like come back to myself and get out of that place of codependency and being like, okay, he has things going on right now. What is it that I need to do? And what is it that I need to focus on? If I need to focus on, I need a break from my phone and I just need some time to, like relax, then that's what I need to do. I shouldn't put that same pressure on him. So it's also teaching me that I can't put all the pressure on him that I would do myself. Like I can't expect him to be that person. And it gives me that chance to like just break that habit of codependency that we can sometimes build within our relationships.
Yeah, and I think that like a big difference too is like the fact that like on a day to day, like I physically have to have these interpersonal interactions with people, so whether I'm dealing with clients, trying to lock in different, partnerships, corporate engagements, bringing in facilitators, my team members, it's like, it's an ongoing thing and it never really stops. But even me, it's like, trying to find balance in that and having times where I may just like completely do like a digital detox and I like will shut my phone off at 9 o'clock and just be and I think one thing that I really do like love about the lifestyle is the routine and the structure. Like every single morning, like we are both waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like I have to leave the house by like 5:45. So what Van does is more or less helps me, prepare, get ready, it takes a lot of burden off of me so I can, take time, move slow. But even within that, like we ensure to give each other time, like, we start off our morning with meditation and prayer, and that's the first thing we do before we branch off. And then like we both wake up early, but we're not very much like morning people, like naturally. If I could, I'll probably like wake up at 9 o'clock every day, just being real. Yeah. But I do it for a very intentional purpose. But within that, like we just both be within our flow. But even in not even just morning routine, but like afternoon routine, with being able to work out, like, or, taking the time to unwind at the end of the day, holding each other accountable to, journaling or doing yoga after a long day, having that type of accountability is great, and sometimes it could be a blessing and a curse because like, we're so structured and routine that like, we're both Aquarius, so we don't know when to stop. Like sometimes we just like go, don't know when to stop. We'll be at the library, like we're going to leave here at 5 o'clock and we don't end up leaving until like 7, So, I think that kind of goes into like challenges that we encounter, because one thing that I think that I did do like at the very start of our relationship, I was huge on like acts of services. So, little things like, giving massages and stuff like that. And without you having to ask me, like that was something that I did and that I kind of got away from just because naturally, like I would be tired and, when we would be home, like it would just be like, I just want to sit, I just want to chill, like I don't want to do anything. But even just like as of recently, like we've worked to kind of overcome that challenge, just by doing, simple acts of service. So, whether that's me, setting you up like a self-care bath, once you get out the shower, helping you like, lotion you up, give me a little massage, stuff like that. Like kind of helping you to be in that position where, I can hold you accountable to unwinding too, because you do a lot of work on a computer every day. And like as a former Intel analyst, like I know how intensive it could be just like utilizing your mind at that capacity. So like you have to have like those extended times where you're just like, still and alone and, within your own company, but you're naturally like a caregiver. You want to do for other people, and you always want to do for me and you always want to do for others. So like one thing as a boundary to help you that I had to start doing was ensuring that, I was actively engaging in those acts of service to, make sure that you're being taken care of on that self-care end as well.
Yeah, and I'll say for me, one thing that going into that, one thing that I find as a challenge in this lifestyle is I'm in my masculine so much. Just because, like he said, like, not only do I love doing things for people, but I also just, with work, it just requires a lot. Like, it requires so much. So I even find myself less often with, in the beginning, I can say we can attest to this, whether it's on social, whether it's in my romantic relationship, I will be like just in lingerie, just more flowy, just more dancing, more often. And I kind of got away from that just because, as you said, once we get off work, it's like I'm tired. We wake up at 5 a.m. and sometimes we're not even sitting down relaxing until 8, 9 o'clock at night. And by that time, I just want to stare at a blank wall. Like, for real. Like, I just want to stare at a white wall and absolutely, like, not hear anything, not talk to anybody. Like, I don't want to express myself. I barely even want to talk sometimes or even hear anybody talk. So finding more ways to get back into that feminine, not only for myself, but for, like, within my relationship, because then I can come off as, like, more kind of like hard and aggressive or just shut down. And I don't think that's fair within my relationship, because it's like we need that, masculine, feminine balance. We don't need both of us to just be like on masculine, like on edge or whatever, anything like that. And then it also provides you room to kind of like soften in your own way, so you don't have to be, that masculine all the time. But I will say with you, with me putting in my days where I just like come in the wellness center and I just dance my heart out. Like when I say I be in here sweating, like I be doing flips and everything.
Yeah.
It gets real. And just dancing, and then having those self-care baths that he set up. Like, he's a bath person and he's done taught me how to like actually relax. When I say I'm not a bath person, I like showers, but I like showers because I get to get in for my 20 minutes, listen to my frequencies and get out, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to lay down somewhere or like just sit down somewhere. And he made me realize like a bath is a very relaxing, like it'd be a whole vibe, like the lighting, the candles.
Like I'm here for a good time and a long time.
And a long
like,
time.
Literally like hours. I mean, I think I've been in the bath for like 2 hours at a time, but like just kind of setting that ambience, you know, getting the candles going, getting the frequencies going. Mm-hmm. Sometimes bringing a book in there, like it's a sacred space, you know, and also got to have the Epsom salt within the equation as well. But no, like I feel like it's like a ritual. It's always been needed. Like ritual to me, you know, like that self-care ritual. So like that, there was a point where I was doing that every single day.
Yeah, you were. Like he would always take his baths and I would just be like, I don't really need a bath. But I've realized how relaxing and needed it is, especially with the busy lives that we led. So I would say also within this, even though those are the challenges, you also teach me how to like care for myself even more, being that natural caregiver. It's like, no, girl, you need to take care of yourself. When I was single, it was very easy to take care of myself. I didn't have nobody else to worry about. I'm worried about myself. Like when I was not running a business, I had nobody else really to worry about. Again, I was worried about myself. But with this, like he's been teaching me like how to take care of all of this and still manage to take care of myself. And I can say now I am a fan of baths. My first time, I was I came in there and I was a little like tense. I was sitting up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm about to sit in here for about 20 minutes. I'm about to sit here for 20 minutes and I'm about to be out. Like, I got things to do. And to the point where I was constantly thinking about like, who's hitting me up? Like, do anybody need me? Yeah. Like, what's going on? And he's like, girl, relax.
Literally had to take the phone. And yeah. I don't know if you would, I mean, I'm sure you would agree that when we're both in that space where we're kind of operating more within that masculine, the common denominator is typically us being outside of our capacity. Yeah. So, you know, I think that even last year, we spent a lot more time working outside of our capacity, constantly being in states of burnout. I mean, even with the podcast, to the point where we would be doing all week, and then every single thing that was involved with the podcast, like, we would do ourselves. Like, we would set up, we would get the camera, we would get the audio, we would try to do all this and that, and by the time we were done, like, we were just absolutely burnt out. I mean, even to the point where, like, we would be just so hungry, irritated that we're going at each other and stuff like that, and it was like taking away the joy that, you know, the joy and the value that we're actually trying to bring, you know, with this podcast, you know. So even, you know, being able to have assistance with this, to the point where, you know, even like a day like today, like, we had a 15-hour day yesterday. Yeah. And we woke up, you know, we were a little bit tired, but like, we were running behind, had to get going, still took our time for self, but it was like a scramble drill, you know. Then I go into the gym, I'm training while you're in the back doing your stuff on the computer, you know, and then we have to hop right into a workout. But rather than, you know, something that allowed us to stay within our capacity, even with this, is being able to come and have everything set up by having a team, you know, shout out to Tyrus and Alexis, but having a team to, you know, kind of help us to prepare, so that, you know, with this podcast, the only thing that we have to do is sit down and be able to do what we do best, therefore enabling us to work within our capacity, you know. And so, yeah, I think that a lot of the times, like, for me as a superior man, like, to get you out of that masculine energy and get you more within your divine feminine, like, I have to take it on as a responsibility, you know, to ensure that I'm doing the things that I need to do in order to soften you, in order to make you feel, you know, secure, protected, to make it feel like that, hey, you don't have to be here, because I'm going to always have this and I'm going to always support this. And you do the same for me. I mean, shoot, literally last Sunday, she did my hair. She did my nails. Like, I'm over.
Manny and Petty.
Yeah, Manny and Petty. Like, I'm literally sitting here soaking my feet playing Madden as she's freaking doing my hair. So it's like, you bring that feminine nature to me too. And you allow me to kind of sit and reset and, you know, be taken care of in that sense as well. Kind of, you know, but I think ultimately it boils down to us being within our capacity as well.
Yeah, speaking of being into our capacity, that does require us constantly, like, going back and being like, how can we find balance? Because with us both being entrepreneurs, you know, the balance is ever evolving. We got to find time to reprioritize different things. But we just had a conversation not too long ago, and I was just like, hey, you know, right now, my social life is not a big priority, because I realized my family was reaching out to me so much, like, hey, they were kind of getting irritated at me, like, hey, you're never around, like, what's going on? And that's one thing, like, I've always been very close to my family. I've moved to 13 different, like, schools, 5 different states, constantly moving. So my family was the only constant thing in my life. And it's like now to the point where I barely had time for them because I wasn't making time. I wasn't prioritizing the balance, and then prioritizing, like, balance within our relationship to say, like, we need our good quality time outside of us just waking up at, you know, 5 in the morning and meditating stuff together and decompressing at night. We do need to solidify those days. So we decided that our days with, like, our family and with our, you know, within our relationship was going to be those Saturday and Sundays. And for now, if that means we have to sacrifice that social life, then we do. I know for me, I'm really willing to sacrifice it because I need my self day on a Sunday. Like, I need that for myself. But for him, like, you more or less go play, you go hoop, or you go work out with your cousins. Yep. Which is still family. and getting that social. But you get a lot of social within, I guess you're like in training. It's a lot of
Yeah, I think
socializing.
that's one of the dope aspects about Omni is like it's man, we could really have our own podcast within there. Like literally, I go in there and the things that we're talking about, everybody's working out, but like I'm more of a conversationalist. So like I love to be able to just like even like I think the other day, I got to talking about like this documentary I watched on orcas and stuff like that. Started giving like a lot of people didn't know that orcas were the apex of the
I
ocean.
didn't
You
even know
know, so
orcas was a thing.
just even like random, stuff like that. Like we we talk about any and everything, but like it keeps that social interaction part good for me. And then even with the hoops, the workout, like that gives me the time to be able to go out with the boys, be within that masculine energy. And that definitely helps. But I would say like agree that the Sundays for the family, Saturday and Sundays with the family have been huge. Like because I think that that's something sometimes we neglect ourselves on, and it's not even intentional, but it's like kind of having fun because like
Yeah.
we're perfectly content with just like working and then just like not doing anything, just completely chilling, relaxing for the weekend, but ultimately like we do want to have fun.
Yeah.
So even like last weekend how we, went out bowling and stuff like that, it kind of helped to re-spark, having, that balance.
Yeah, I definitely want to do fun activities more often just to get us out of that constant like serious mode or just like very relaxed mode. And it also give us like more memories. Like I can honestly say with us not prioritizing like a lot of fun, I think 2020 was it 2021 movie in 2021.
2021.
I think that's when we had like flag football and stuff. And that was fun. Like
Yeah.
we had moments we were fun. We were like more in our like social light, and I have more memories.
Flag football, kickbacks,
Yeah.
like all types of yeah.
We
20,
had
that
things
was,
going on, and
yeah.
like last year we got into a place where it was just work
Oh,
and
we
not
did
a
like
lot of
we go on like vacations and
vacations.
stuff
Yeah,
like that, and
but
that
that was
like
like months, you
yeah,
know. But just that regular fun and creating those memories, I feel like it's important for us to prioritize more of those moments going into this year as well.
yeah. Especially things like that bring out that childlike mindset, like Defy Indie.
Yeah,
Like I man, that was so fun, and I like I'm the grown man that will literally be playing dodgeball with the kids,
he
and all
really
the
will.
parents are just sitting and watching as
They
I'm
kids
just
get
like
smacked.
destroying their kids.
Like he
But
shows no mercy.
no, but it's fun, and I think that both of us constantly having things that bring out that inner child
Yeah.
are important because once we get into that mode and we're just doing, it's very easy to neglect that inner child, and that can lead to other internal and ultimately external issues, that grow into, bigger issues, all from the deeper rooted issue matter being the fact that we're neglecting our inner child.
Yeah. And I can say, just moving on into a different topic of like supporting each other and holding each other accountable within these moments. I feel like we do a pretty good job within supporting and holding each other accountable. But I do want to ask, like, in what ways do you think that I can continue to support you within your journey of being an entrepreneur and in the relationship?
I mean, that's a good question. I feel like you do it, in terms of everything you like, starting with business, in terms of everything that you do for me in business. I mean, like you're like a high executive in Omni. You might not have like that set in stone like title right now, but that's the role that you serve. Like in terms of marketing, the impact that you've been have on me on building like this community through your medium of social, intentionally social, like that's been absolutely huge. So, from there, I would just say, just with the business tip, like just continue to check me sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I need to be checked. And, I can be like a very strong personality sometimes. So like people have often had issues when it comes to checking me because they're scared of stepping on my toes. But I feel like I'm in a place now where I'm very receptive and I respond well to being checked and addressed. You know, if I'm talking to you a certain type of way and you don't like it, you know, even though in the moment I might not necessarily want to hear, it's something that I need to hear. So definitely continue to do that and holding me accountable on those times where I just need to kind of shut down and, you know, not do anything. Yeah. And then from a personal intimate relationship standpoint, like, I mean, again, I think you do everything that, I mean, any man would want. You know, you're a caregiver, you take care of me, like you've shown me ways even to take care of myself, you know, with different self-care routines and stuff like that. So on that end, honestly, yeah, on that end, I would just say, like we discussed, just, you know, we need to hold ourselves more accountable to, you know, date nights,
Yeah.
getting out and having fun, you know, and just we have a busy schedule, so just being more strategic with that.
You support me in a sense of like now you provide that what is it, that structure that I need within my business, because sometimes I can get just going, like I get too caught up in a mode of serving and not actually growing my business. So you taking on that role of, you know, that business coaching role of like keeping me online with my tasks for the year. I think that is like the biggest support that I can have in my business right now as I continue to grow it. I really need that, you know, that structure. I'm so good. You already know I'm good with structure. I just need a plan.
And we just developed you like a whole strategic plan for the year, and that was the first time that I've ever did that. You know, I have a coach that does that for me, but I've never done that for somebody else in entirety like I have for you. So that was a dope process.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you did that. I would just say, like, with me not like needing much on a business, and just reassure me like often within my business. Sometimes I can just have this thought of like, am I doing enough for my business? You know, we all have those doubts as entrepreneurs from time to time. So just continue to like uplift and encourage me and give me those words of affirmations. And then I can say within the relationship, I actually journaled about that yesterday, what you said about being a strong personality. And I didn't journal about you in particular, but not yesterday, the day before yesterday. I didn't journal about you in particular, but I just journaled about how I've been coming out of this role of, I felt like I was in my nice girl era for a little while, just because back in the day people used to be like, oh, Van, you're such a bitch, like you're such a rude person, and it pushed me into this nice girl era where I kind of like, you know, fell back. You know, I let people just be people. I didn't really have much to say. Like, if it ain't affecting me, I'm not saying much about it. But with you being that strong personality, it's teaching me how to, you know, again, stand that ground, because I can say that lately I have been like having those moments where I'm like, hey, you know, you need to calm down, you know, sometimes. So I like the fact that I'm able to learn how to do that. And I would say in a relationship, just like you said, getting back to those date nights. I really want to have those like more intimate date nights with you, and we can just hold each other accountable on making that happen. But I feel like we discussed a little bit ago how we can support each other on that end, and it came with those self-care baths and those back rubs, and you've been just holding strong onto that. So I just like appreciate you for doing that, and just continue to do it.
Yeah,
just continue
the acts of service.
Yeah,
for sure. What is something that you would leave for the people in terms of being more mindful in relationships, specifically with to those who might be dealing with, you know, that entrepreneurship dynamic?
I would say just be more mindful of, like we're discussing, prioritizing that time with your partner, but actually just like communicating through it. Like with everything changing, you got to constantly communicate. Like I said, I'm not the same person I was last week. He's not the same person he was last week. Like we adjust on a regular basis. So just constantly communicating, because once things are left unsaid, resentment can build, and we can hold on things for a long time, and then we get into the mode where we're saving our relationship. And don't get into that habit of trying to save the relationship. Just constantly communicate the entire time, no matter what it is. I'll be bringing things to the table a little bit too much sometimes, I feel, but I'm just like, I don't want to build resentment, so I have to communicate it.
Right. Yeah, for on my end, like, just know that it's a constant evolution. Like, you're constantly growing. So, like, in ordinary normal relationships that don't even have that entrepreneurship dynamic, like, you still have to put in a lot of work. So you take that entrepreneurship dynamic and add that in, and you have to work towards that times 10. So, definitely remain mindful that it takes work. Like, there's going to be times where the relationship is difficult. There's going to be times where you're struggling. There's going to be times where it's never going to be like 50-50. It might be, 100%, 0% sometimes, but that's why you're partners. When we see relationships more as like partnerships, it makes the dynamics a lot more smoother. So just know that there's going to be those struggles. There's going to be those difficult times. But just like life, you have to go through those times of difficulties. You have to go through those adversities in order to come out resilient, which ultimately makes you better. You have to go through the instability in order to have the composure. And with that, we're going to leave it.
Yes.
See y'all next time.
See ya.